sure that analysis of my software requirement is going to take me 14 days. Out of that 14 days, I will conduct the need analysis, okay, and then draft preliminary software specification, develop preliminary budgets, review the software specification package, incorporate feedback, develop the delivery timeline. It goes on and on and on. And when you are done, is analysis complete? That's 0. Okay? I'm a little bit ahead of the curve because this is project schedule. This is when you have done with your scope and then you are done with your time. So this is what we're going to discuss on probably next after lunch. And then you go to the next one. This is design. So what is this? You remember that the major deliverables? So this guy designed, and then he actually, they put together major deliverables, the scope, analysis of software, design, development, testing, training, documentation, pilot, deployment. Software deployment template complete 0. So means that if you are, it's the same thing with the building. You know, you started your design and then construction and then inspection and then handover. These are like the major deliverables in your project. And this is what we call it a project schedule. And when you see here on the left side, these are the task ID. And this project happened to have only 86 tasks. And let me tell you this. There are a couple of projects I worked that have 3,000 tasks. Okay? And if you are working for Boeing or for those major projects, imagine that the number of tasks you have. And managing those tasks, if you are not doing them properly, it's kind of, it's a daunting task. So that's why you need to break it down into manageable chunk. Then you identify their need, you identify their time, duration, it goes all the way down. So in that case, if someone asks you that, how much is your project cost? It's for you easy that you just sum up everything and then go there. So we're going to get into that when we discuss the on time, on the estimation. Let me just go this final slides. So we're still in scope management. And then let me also show you some of the projects that I told you that you're going to do for your individual project. So this is one of the class I taught a couple years ago for a project management team. Okay, I gave them a task, okay, to cleaning a contaminated seashores in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, and this is their the definition, because as a team they put together this project management plan, and they have a background information, the stakeholders analysis, defining the project scope, the work breakdown structure, time management, okay, and quality management, cost, HR, communication, risk, procurement. Sounds familiar? See, yeah, so regardless of where you go there, so this is one of the projects that at the end of your 8 weeks class, that is what I'm expecting you deliver. And this is from their presentation. So they build their own company name, a hypothetical company, okay, and they put some historical background, and this is the scope, okay. The oil spill and then contamination in the Gulf of Mexico has already and continues to have a significant impact on people's life and natural resources and lessons learned from the other spilling. So this is the task they were given, and I asked them to put together a project plan. Okay, So the staff is ready to assist all aspects of the disaster, and we will concentrate on the natural habitat restoration. This is what they did. They put together, and decision to mobilize and execute during the stage of the contamination is critical. It goes on and on. Okay, and this is what, the incident stage. This is the oil, the place where they got, and because they went ahead and then they studied what the impact on that oil spillage. So this is the background that I gave them. Okay, and the shell is represented by Dr. Tasamma, the chief executive officer, is our client and has recruited them to implement the project. Okay, constraints. This is $6 million, the schedule, the quality. I gave them that. Then they start working on stakeholders. Okay, who is their stakeholders? And they did that. See, last week we discussed about knowing your stakeholders. So you have the stakeholders here, their function, their interests, and then their power. Why did they do this? Because they wanted to know who has that power, and they want to know who has that interest. The United States Army Corps of Engineers, this is the federal level, they have high interest because they are helping the contamination cleanup. The city of New Orleans, okay, the Louisiana Gulf Coastal Area Chamber of Commerce, the Louisiana Gulf Conservation, and then the Visiting Bureau. So they identified 15 stakeholders. They analyzed them into their power and their interests, and it goes on. And once they finish this, then they have what we call, goes on. They identified almost 25, and then they did this. You remember what we discussed last week? That this is the stakeholders grid. So for those people with high interest and then high power, you manage closely. Okay, and that's how they build the, and then I'm just going back to the scopes. So because that's where, this is how they build that, the aerial photograph, the same stuff what you showed us last time, Daniel. And this is the goal, it's the objective. The objectives. This is the charter. You remember we discussed charter is an agreement document that covers everything. Okay, and that's the requirement analysis. So what is this? Scope. Okay, in the scope, requirement included, the project has to be completed. Contamination should be environmentally friendly. Bird and mammals should be treated. Employees, the local people. It goes on and on. They also have a slide, what it says, what is not included, because they wanted to make sure that everything is on the same page. Cleaning, this is what they do. Okay, and this is their work breakdown structure. Cleaning a contaminated seashore as a 6-month task is the process of identifying complex project to simpler and then manageable task. Okay, is a method of simplifying the project execution. It's the larger task were broke down into manageable. Okay, for the reason for creating WBS is it accurate and readable project organization. They want to know who is doing what. Okay, assignment responsible for the project indicates the project milestone and then control points, helps to estimate the cost, time, illustrate the project scope. This is how they did. You see, general condition, procurement, okay, preliminary activity, basic training, site building, beach cleaning up, animals relocation, management activity. They have different natural resources. These are major deliverables. They are broken down into a manageable chunk. Okay, so that's how you do it. And let's just go back and then wrap up the scope, because we have so many things to cover. So just go back here. And so we define the scope, we did that. We create a work breakdown structure, we did that. And this is how work breakdown structure works. And this is how the work breakdown structure looks like. Sometimes, you know, you may have this way, or you may have with something like this. You may have, let's say, you know, 1.1 is design, then 1.1.1 is interface design, then 1.1.1.1 is front interface, 1.1.1.2 is back interface, then you go back to 1.1.2 is database, and then it goes on 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.4.1, 1.4.1.1. So it goes on all the way down to the level of what we said to the work package. You decompose it to the level where you can no longer break it down. That's where we call it the work breakdown structure, and that's the smallest work package. So you may have a different view of work, the WBS like this or like that. So depending on how your organization is using, but the point here is that just break it down so that you know exactly how much it's going to cost or where. So the work package is another test question in the exam, is the lowest level of WBS, and it's output oriented, and we also define